In 1976, a young drummer from the Bronx named Steve Reid took the avant-garde jazz world by storm with back-to-back albums on Mustevic sound, and from the second of those, the album Nova, the title track. Already this is taking kind of a loose, kind of fluttering structure, somewhat aggressive, primal. Really cutting saxophone. Yeah, really cutting sax riff amid this like syncopated ostinato. It's one of those ostinatos that's kind of hard to count, but it's basically 4/4, just like it start with an emphasis on like odd beats, like. Yeah, an emphasis on odd counts in like the first of the two bars, anyway. I couldn't quite get it. It was emphasizing like the third and fourth beat of the first bar, and then skipping the second, and then. Yeah, that 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. The piano that you can hear kind of low in the mix is really emphasizing twos. Wow, now it's really going in a bunch of different directions. Like the different brass and woodwinds. Let's see, we got Joe Rigby on alto saxophone, soprano, and tenor. All three saxes. We got Richard Williams on bass, and Les Walker on piano, and Ahmad Abdullah on trumpet. Yeah, he would record some great stuff of his own during the decade. Actually, I'm thinking the bass on this might be Louis Angel Falcon. He plays like stand-up. Yeah, I hear that duel between Joe Rigby and Ahmed Abdullah. Yeah, I'm hearing Abdullah like in this speaker with a dun 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 dun, and like Rigby, of course, was coming in this speaker just really going all kinds of free form, just wiggling away on the soprano. And for a minute there, they were kind of doubling up on each other. Yeah, for a minute there, they were going really divergent. It seems like both of them just kind of wandering outside of the structure altogether. Now it looks like we're going to have a moment here of Les Walker. On one hand, kind of holding on to the ostinato a bit, the piano, and then on the other hand, like on the high keys, just kind of playing outside the tune altogether, almost like as if he's in a different room, just. Steve Reid has been pretty restrained in this piece. I mean, he hasn't really like dominated any moment. Like here, you hear him just like putting pretty consistent like metal behind everything. Yeah, this has all been about kind of like avant-garde, like semi-cohesive, like conflict of of different instruments, but it hasn't been like like really a drummer's showcase or anything. I guess this album was recorded. It's basically a live album. So it was basically, I guess, them coming to the table with kind of like a loose set of ideas and just kind of playing semi randomly around them with just some kind of like compromised. Now he's playing another saxophone, Rigby. Yeah, and so he's coming up in the speaker, coming up in the middle, and Abdullah is like in the speaker still, kind of like trumpeting it away quite high. Kind of a trumpet blast of a riff there. That was Nova by Steve Reid. Let's hear another track from the album, Lions of Juda. And now I think this time we might be hearing Richard Williams on bass. Hear that really like distorted, kind of almost like voxy sounding organ. It sounds like something. It sounds like something off a '60s garage rock recording. It's an interesting thing to add to free jazz. This kind of has somewhat of a Cape Town jazz kind of feel to it, kind of mixed with a bit of like what was going on like in jazz that was going on in like South Africa, mixed with the New York avant-garde. Yeah, I'm almost thinking like a mixture of like Dollar Brand and what was going on like in the New York loft scene, like with like James Blood Ulmer and the like. I love that early '60s organ sound. It's really dominating here, and yeah, that's got to be Les Walker. Once again, Rigby and Abdullah just kind of dueling away on their respective brass. Oh, hear that cymbal? What he's doing right there? Yeah, our main guy, Steve Reid. Yeah, taking a moment to kind of rise to the fore. Like he was doing this thing like tight then sustain, kind of like. Now he's giving kind of like cymbal mist. Oh, I love the way that soprano sax is just like wiggling around amid that voxy organ. It's like a snake. God, the way it's so fluidly like wiggling around like that. And I think now Abdullah once again kind of emerging over here. Hear the way that organ's really cutting up now, getting even more distorted. Oh, it interacts so well. The organ, yeah, Lay Walker and Abdullah really having a good like a kind of fractious intermingle. Just like poking in, kind of stabbing into that organ. Like. It's like abstract expressionism. Like I could just see the painting with all the shapes, all the zigzags, all the squiggly lines, all the dots, all the splatters. I didn't even notice that little wood block that's been going on the whole time. Wow, that solo right there, getting really icy, like scaly, kind of up, like wiggling up the high keys. God, like Q and the Mysterians would have really envied this organ sound. God, this album just it hits so many like it conjures up so many moods. It's like I can see why it's so like raw, so primitive, so distorted, yet so beautiful in its like just tonal color and. I can see why this album has become so popular in recent years on the internet. Yeah, like the album I was covering last night. I can see this as a gateway for like rock fans, particularly like primitive rock fans. Funny enough, this isn't really like jazz rock at all. It's more like avant-garde, like verging on like free jazz, with just some like voxy electronic instrumentation thrown in and a certain kind of somewhat minimalistic approach that isn't really so overtly jazz. I mean, some of the more overt kind of jazzy trappings that are quite prominent, say in like post bop, are not really present here. They're paring back. It's not just covered in like cymbal mist and brush stroke drums and piano glissandos, and legato, and walk licks and walking bass lines and such. It's the arrangements are very just unorthodox. And we're having kind of like a simple kind of procession around a somewhat kind of like detuned theme, which is something I've kind of noticed in some of that African jazz from the time period. I love the way this just comes to, after kind of like discombobulating for so much of its length, kind of loosely, somewhat coherently, just kind of tries to come together and. I think so, kind of like gloriously out of tune, like the art of deconstruction. Yeah, that was Steve Reid with Lions of Juda, with great talent in the studio, recorded on March 25th, 1976 at Studio WE in New York City, yes. And before that, the title track from the album, Nova, featuring the Legendary Master Brotherhood, and released on Mustevic Sound the same year as his prior album, Rhythmatism. And both releases basically being his first two as a band leader. And he would release a few. Well, he would release a live album the following year, Odyssey of the Oblong Square, and has been, was sporadically active over the next 34 years, releasing a total of 64 credits according to Discogs. His earliest, I guess, being from the prior year, ACBA, on ACBA Records, behind Charles Tyler. And then backing, people like Arthur Blythe and, the New Life Trio, Dave Cause. That's a different kind of. So he had some range as a performer. Yeah. Steve Reid. For more Rubies and Sapphires from the two Steve Reid albums of 1976, see the directory of albums from 1976, linked in the description below, for Red Hot Tracks and Purples from those two albums, as well as many other albums from that year, over 1,740, including a number of albums from the avant-garde end of jazz, as well as jazz funk and traditional jazz, and many other styles from across the musical spectrum, as it was 1976, a very diverse and rich musical year with contributing artists from around the world. Like and subscribe and follow me on social media, and leave a comment if there are any observations you have about the two tracks we just listened to, the layers, the instrumentation, the interplay, the off-kilter nature of it all, and the sounds, and which moments stood out best to you. And until next time, this is Zaragon, the world's most air-traveled trimaximalist, signing off.